Good evening, everybody. It's the Old Wolf here again for another episode of the Witch and Wolf Wisdom podcast.
Woo!
Yes, it's Tuesday, August 9th, 8:02 p.m. Yes. Got distracted by my own glamour, and I'm 2 minutes late. I fucked up. Sorry.
You suck.
Wow. That escalated quickly. But yes, it kind of fits within the framework tonight's episode. The mouth of madness. Yes. Madness. It's fucking everywhere. Many different forms of it. They're like Skittles. They come in all kinds of cool little colors and flavors and...
Taste the rainbow.
Yeah, like that.
They're coming to take me away. See, they're coming to take me away.
Yeah, maybe.
No?
I don't know. I guess it really depends on what you did this time.
I like how you phrased it as a this time thing.
Well, we know between you and your past lives and your future lives and even your present life, you're a fucking witch. So
Yeah.
I'm not scared easily and you fucking scare me. But in a good kind of way. In a kind of a, ooh, my nipples are hard way.
Hey, at least life with me is not boring.
No, absolutely not. There's no argument there. Diane, Angela, Pixie. And Pixie, listen, I'm sorry I missed your birthday, everybody. Pixie.
Well, I gave her your wishes.
Did you?
I wish her happy birthday.
I get so fucked up with the social media stuff. Like, I try, and I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to be a good wolf. To, again, be more active and cognitive. But happy birthday, Pixie. All the best to you. Yes, we know Pixie in real life. She's a real Pixie.
Yes, she is.
So Jess, Angela, Pixie, everybody, welcome. Angela, thank you for sharing. I always appreciate that. The podcast works a little bit differently for anybody who's just joining us for the first time. We don't do readings. You don't have to pay for anything.
We're just having fun.
We talk about shit. This is where I get to kind of ramble on, as they say. I pick a variety of different things for different reasons.
You get on a soapbox? Why would you?
Sometimes it's a soapbox. A lot of times it's just about music that myself and the people that I know are doing, and we're continually working on expanding. Shiya did some little tweaks to the whole setup here, which will, probably won't be noticeable to, the general user, but they are all little parts of the machine, of the equation. So yeah, tonight's In the Mouth of Madness. Now, as always, we like to talk about the people in our world, the people around us who not only support us, but who we, in turn, try and support back. Now, this time I'm going to wait on certain ones. I'm going to do this a little bit differently.
No, you have to kind of...
No, because I'm going to test a theory, because my theory suggests something, but I'm not going to put it out there publicly because I don't want to manifest it, so I'm going to keep it in my fucking brain. Okay. That's my fucking madness. But we're going to start with our good friends Bobby and Sherry with Moonbeams. They are incredible. They're good friends, they're good people, and they actually give a shit about what they do. I talk about this all the time, so, those of you who, again, follow regularly and be like, yeah, well, you say, yes, of course. What I'm going to do, the advertising part, and it's not really advertising, it's free marketing.
It's just telling us
right, we share these dynamics because we think other people not only will appreciate it, but, again, if you're going to go spend money on this stuff, you should spend it with people who are not going to rip you off and are not going to sell you some piece of shit that was made by a fucking 11-year-old in a fucking jungle somewhere. You know what I mean? Just little dynamics. But yeah, Bobby and Sherry, very powerful, great stuff. You can check them out at Moonbeams on Facebook and Instagram. And listen, just mention the witch, Lady Shiya, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Yes, indeed. So check them out, Moonbeams, Facebook and Instagram. We also have another great person, another great friend within our circle, Suzanne Delgado.
Yes, love her.
Mystical Moons.
You need crystals, you see her.
Yes. And not just, the pretty polished stuff. She does lives where she actually gets a lot of the raw stuff, for those of you who are not, again, into the pretty polished end, but you want that raw elemental dynamic, or for some of you who want to take that raw elemental dynamic and create your own stuff. But either way, you can check her out on Facebook.com, Mystical Moons Live. She does lives periodically where she, and again, really good prices, versus what a lot of these crystals go for in the shops and stuff.
The more you spend, the more discounts you get with her.
Ah, well, why don't you tell us about her discount?
Well, I don't know. She's got some kind of a point system, and it tells you the points you get. But the more you spend, the more discounts you get. She has monthly drawings, weekly drawings. I know every month she gives away a reading from me.
Right.
For full spirit insight reading.
Very true.
It's pretty darn awesome, and we have a lot of fun with it. And, again, first visit there, first order there, 25%.
25% off your first order, which is huge. That's a quarter off, that dollar. So you can check her out again, Facebook.com/MysticalMoonsLive or www.mysticalmoons.com, and tell her, the witch and the wolf sent you. Even if, listen again, we talk about this redundantly, but if not for yourself, these little things, a couple dollars, they make great gifts.
Absolutely.
For all kinds of different occasions, be they, a birthday or graduation or, an engagement. And, you could make the case for just about anything, especially within the dynamic or crystals and stuff like that, because they all have special meanings and properties and, different dynamics. You can get the skull one, or, you could get, the beautiful orb on its own little pedestal kind of thing.
Even the different shapes have different purposes in crystals.
Absolutely.
Cut, polished, stuff like that. It's pretty awesome. And, I think it should be noted, and you kind of started to bring this up before, nobody pays us to advertise. Nobody. If you wouldn't pay us to advertise, we probably wouldn't do it. We're actually sharing out these people because we believe in them.
Yeah, we actually do business with them. They support us. We support them, type of thing.
And there's not even a formal agreement. It's just like we do it because we want to.
Well, also to some degrees, and it's no offense to anybody, but when you cross that line into doing paid advertising,
then you're not sincere.
Well, no, not necessarily, but I believe that it does to some degrees change the dynamic a little bit. It shifts it now because there's obviously now expectations involved. I have spent, again, if I walk into McDonald's and I spend X amount of money, I want what I fucking want. And this is organic.
It's McDonald's, not Burger King, dude. McDonald's, they can do it however they want. Burger King, have it your way.
Fine, more madness. But yeah, listen, simply put, we do this because, again, we believe in that framework, that philosophy of strength in numbers, pure and simple. Because, again, you fucked up.
Immediately.
Yeah. But again, also, we have my brother, Tony Rodriguez, also known as Tattoo Tony.
Oh my God, his freaking aftercare.
Yes.
Just gotta say.
Go ahead, why don't you tell us about it?
I got a tattoo from Tattoo Tony, and it was almost completely healed because of his aftercare within a week. And this stuff is so moisturizing that I'm starting to put it on other things that need moisturizing, like dry hands and stuff like that. And my God, my tattoo's perfect. When we go down there, honey, I'm getting several of them.
No, listen, that's totally fine. Listen, there is a case to be made.
I'm getting several of them.
For products that have more of a direct hands-on element. That's not to say that technology and automation don't have their perks, but there's more magic, in a tincture.
Yeah.
That a shaman like Tony, just saying, puts together and makes himself versus, again, some factory in the middle of Newark, fucking New Jersey. Again, truth is truth. It's the same analogy that we mentioned earlier with, like mystical moons and, moonbeams and stuff, they actually, put some dynamic into what they do. Sister Diana, how are you? How are you? How are you? Good to see you.
Hey, Diana.
I don't know. I don't look like a pilgrim, but with the way you're looking at me, y'all sound like you're out on Vector 9, Pass Beyond the Stratosphere. I don't know what that actually translates to because I don't speak Ewok. Diana.
Well, she's an alien.
But translation, give me an analogy as to what that actually means. Like, are you trying to say like I'm fucked up? Like I'm here for your amusement? Like I'm a fucking joke? Or like the sound quality sounds like you're out in space.
Lost in
Yeah, I can't speak to that because I don't know what you're listening to us on. I know the subtleties of the dynamic. Again, I don't believe. Yes, Joe Pesci, very good. I knew you would get it. We're in the mouth of madness, so who the fuck knows what is what. Again, this is the fun of live broadcasting, literally, that, sometimes the dynamics with the mic. We also use this setup for Shiya's Live, and she was doing the reel, so God knows what particular settings she may or may not have kind of rolling. It may just be simply a little bit of, hey, let's pull that level down a little bit. So we'll try that. Hopefully, maybe that will... Shiya's going to run into the bathroom and go listen to it. See, now you've caused more madness. She's a perfectionist. She's got to go out there and do her thing. But with that being said, my brother Tony not only is the founding member of Broken Past, you can check them out at brokenpastnewjersey.com. He's not also just Tattoo Tony of Under My Skin Tattoo Parlor in the Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. Yeah, that's the Jersey Shore. But he's also the founder and proprietor of the PepoStickerCompany.com, which basically, again, he can take anything that you can imagine and pretty much create it into just about anything you can imagine, within reason. Obviously, he can't build you a nuclear weapon, but he can make you a bumper sticker about a nuclear weapon, or a coffee cup that looks like a nuclear weapon.
Or a patch.
Or a patch. Or a shirt. Yeah. Or a hoodie. Or a hat. Or a scarf.
He could make you a
wallet.
With a beaver ass.
Well, I don't know about that. I guess, it depends on state and local laws in regards to, and I don't want to piss PETA off. You know what I mean? And that's really a dynamic that we only kind of do when Suzanne's around, because she is the beaver queen.
Yes, she is.
Now, Diana, a conversation, and I'm going to kind of put you out there, because we like you. Like that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. She wants a nuclear weapon on Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
It has come to my attention that you want a new title, that you have grown disenfranchised ruling the Ewoks, and you no longer want to be the Ewok queen. You want to elevate your status. So you're going to be my test subject. Welcome to the madness. You're going to be my test subject, basically, on a new thing, kind of, to the degree. And I just got to find the damn thing. There we go. Wolfpack. As a member of our circle, I consider it the Wolfpack. Okay. I would like you, as my friend, to come up with your context. Who you want to be known as, how you want to manifest. No, you cannot be Joe Pesci, because I don't need those kind of fucking nightmares.
The wolf's already Joe Pesci, sorry.
No, I just channel Joe Pesci.
From time to time, like daily.
Yeah, well, I channel a lot of different people.
Daily.
But this is within a new scope of what I'm going to be doing. And as mentioned, I want it to be more interactive out here. I want to talk about not just my stuff, but I want to talk about other people's stuff, your strange and obscure stories, experiences, whatever it is, okay? Send it to me, okay?
So basically, we need to know her new moniker and...
Yeah, and I want her to have an honest hand in that, you know what I mean? no pun intended, you earned it as far as I'm concerned. You've danced the dance, you've walked the walk for, long enough. And I believe it's important, you know what I mean? It is an element that can be found in many different cultures through time, that we adopt these little persona elements. My brother, Chris Seringer, he's fat ass. I'm the old wolf. Okay, my brother Chris Miller, he's ape dude. You know what I mean? There are many different analogies and examples, that you can.
The monkey.
Got the monkey, the scarecrow, and the witch, and the artist formerly known as whatever. You know what I mean? And again, you can draw it to whatever degree. Now, again, over time, certain dynamics played themselves out. Again, Chanel became the Goblin Queen because of the connection with her children and one of the classical pieces that I wrote, Goblin Dance.
Yeah.
So by default, that kind of just played itself together. Suzanne became the Beaver Queen, basically because she came out here and flashed her beaver to everybody. So how can she not be the Beaver Queen?
Make it sound like she
Well, the people can infer whatever they want. They're going to have to follow the show if they're going to want to understand what it is.
Right.
See, I'm getting out. Now you're teaching me how to not give it all away. You know, and obviously, you know what I mean.
Give it away. Give it away.
It's Suzanne Bieber. She can do whatever she wants. Wow. You want to become listen. We have to find a little bit of the variation on it just to kind of make it yours. But sure, listen, not as terrifying as Joe Pesci, but definitely, and for anybody who's not familiar with her, she's definitely somebody you don't want to fuck with.
I can see
I know exactly who she is.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. No, I meant just in the analogy, especially within the dynamic. And, again, fair enough. I gotta think of how, I guess we could just literally just.
I think we're going to call her Madam Mercenary.
We'll call her Queen Shand.
Queen Shand.
The robotic queen. Now, she's more human than robotic. You know what I mean?
And she's got some robotic parts more now than she did when she started the show.
Yes. I mean, the bounty queen.
How about we make her
the mercenary queen?
How about the cyborg queen?
Nah, because that implies that she just has no emotional context at all.
And 7 of 9 is still a cyborg, and she has a lot of emotional contect.
Yeah, but that's a whole nother universe.
I know.
You can't do that.
I can do whatever.
Fuck off. No. Listen, Diana and I are hanging with George. We're over there on fucking the Skywalker Ranch. We're doing our thing. Mind your own fucking business. Go ahead, Diana. I apologize for the interruption.
Better anyway.
Ooh, madness. So yes, I want people to get involved, whatever degree you want. Don't get me wrong. I'll just keep doing my own things, but I really would like to hear your strange and obscure stories, your experiences, your dreams, your nightmares. And Tiff, welcome. We are doing good. Thank you for coming out tonight. Everybody that joins us, thank you. We appreciate the support. So yes, we'll again, I guess, again, she can be the robotic queen, but you know what I mean? Again, that's up to you. Queen Shend is cool. All right, there we go. Diana is now known
as Queen Shend.
Queen Shend. Ironically, I already kind of gave you a little shout out in my album credits. So I guess these albums are going to be a collector's item because you are no longer the Ewok queen.
I think she should just be the mercenary queen because Shend is her own character.
No, but listen, that's fine.
She has her own personality. So being the mercenary,
we can put it. You know what? This is how we can frame it because every good character has a lot of story dynamics. They have the backstory, and then obviously all the different dynamics of the side quests and stuff like that. So she just basically, after her time with the Ewoks, it's the same universe. She went on to become Queen Shend. That's part of her story. It's part of her dynamic. You know what I mean?
No,
which is really cool.
That's
I
why
mean,
the Ewoks are so fucking fierce.
it's pretty funny when you hold them up against like Suzanne's beaver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It creates definitely this polarity of, or the paradox of madness. Again,
Yes.
inside joke. And
Fierce teddy bear.
I'll leave it to you to figure it out.
I saw, speaking of the Star Wars universe, I saw a funny meme the other day that Gizmo and Grogu are from another mother.
Yes. The slightly deviated DNA variation. Some dick bought the Skywalker Ranch and had it all fenced. I'll be honest with you, Chip, I didn't even know that. Certain things just escape me. You know what I mean? As much as I try and pay attention to as much as I get going on around me, too many times other things just like, again, all right, Skywalker Ranch now is owned by some asshole.
Wow. You
heard it from Tiffany first. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, you know. A lot of times, you know, we can just throw it out in the chat, but, you know, sometimes these stories are more dynamic, you know what I mean, and are more difficult to just do on the fly, which again goes to the point of the wolf pack, is to share those elements, to laugh together, to cry together, to cringe together.
I love the wolf pack.
You know, again, it's just a simple way to, you know, engage and get people involved. Now, one of the big things coming up for us, September 17th. September 17th, 2022, the Under My Skin for Life Foundation presents Arts for Autism. This is a group that myself and my son have been members with Tony and others for a few years now, going on like 8 years. And every year, except for, you know, the off year in between, year and a half, almost 2 years in between COVID, you know what I mean, where nothing was fucking happening. It's something that we've done for many years. It's going to be down the Jersey Shore, Fort Monmouth. There's going to be a bike run right before the event. Basically, it's going to be from like 12 noon through 6, 7 o'clock. It's a free event. Anybody can come out there. WRAT, The Rat, 95.9. That's the Jersey Rock Station, the Jersey Shore Rock Station. Yeah. The only rock station, as far as I'm fucking concerned, down there. There's going to be wrestling. Jose Hernandez Jr. is going to be there. Gene Snitsky, some Illinois. Bands such as myself, The Pocketful of Wolves, Spawn Ranch, which I was just talking to one of the guys from them this morning. They graciously gave me some audio stuff from a show that they did recently, and are helping with some of the smaller reel promotions. Yeah, they're good bunch of guys. Just, you know, bunch of guys that got together, just want to play rock and metal. They have no other, nothing, you know, they're just like, hey, we just like making fucking music. We're there. Broken Past, Tony's band's going to be there. Legion, Solos Borges, Blue Red Roses, Elliot Mayer, Mark Meyer, the Knuckleheads, which are two young brothers that have been doing the event for years. They've literally kind of like the Wonder Years been growing up through the events. So one plays drums, the other plays guitar. Listen, they're great kids. Listen, I'm performing with my son. The Monkey's going to be there. You know what I mean? Jeanette and Greg. Jeanette's bringing her son. Wick is going to be performing with us. He's going to do a song on stage. So this is about family. It's about friends. It's about helping those in time of need. And again, obviously, as in the title, raise autism awareness and to raise money for a local autism school called Oasis Farms. Now, again, the Under My Skin for Life Foundation is and has been and will continue to be a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. Basically means all the money we raise goes to charity. We don't have an advertising budget. We don't have an administrative board that sits around collecting checks. Nobody within the organization makes money. Nobody gets paid. It's all volunteer. It's all donated. Yep. Some of the other things that will go on at the event for any of you that are into cool things,
I'm into cool things.
There's going to be a raffle when there's also going to be, well, there's going to be a couple of raffles, but there's going to be an auction. Every year we auction up all types of different things. A lot of
shopping,
signed, unique promotional stuff. Give you a couple examples. One year was a signed guitar by Loretta Lynn. One year was a signed guitar by Leonard Skinner. Drumsticks signed by Artemis Pyle. Signed posters.
nice.
Things from many different bands, including Bret Michaels, Kiss, Black Label Society, just to name a few, Marshall Tucker Band. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I can't even begin to keep track of the number of people that have supported and helped out over the years. And I just can't. It's just too much. Too many things have come and gone through the event that are incredibly unique. And that's how we raise money and awareness for the kids. So, it's a type of thing. You got to be there to get a shot at that. But if that's your kind of thing.
If you can't be there and you do want to donate and support.
Yes, there are ways to do that as well, too.
Number for somebody.
That would be Ryan. Ryan's one of our board members.
Yep.
And I put that up on there for anybody who wants to reach out.
Visually, you can see her phone number.
Right. Maybe one day we'll be able to get the auction stuff, online, but, resources and everything being what it is, it's an old school auction. You know what I mean? That will be.
Yeah, and we have one of our dear friends who gave us something cool.
Yes.
The auction.
Ashley Hart
yes.
of Hart's Creations did a custom autism themed dream catcher that will be auctioned off at the event, for charity. Beautiful piece of work that she did. And that's what these things are about. You know what I mean? They're about helping those in times of need. And there's certain dynamics within our culture and stuff like that. And I call it fucking madness. But the simple truth is, if we don't do it, nobody's going to fucking do it. So we got to do it. Really, it's just that simple. So, yes, you can reach out to Ryan. You could text her. You could also reach out to the foundation itself under myskinforlife@gmail.com. If you just want some more information, maybe, you want to do something bigger, you know what I mean? Coca-Cola, if you're listening out there. Hey, if you want to buy a banner to help support this, we'll gladly take your fucking money and we'll put the Coke banner up. You know what I mean?
And give all
we have no pride or ego when the event is concerned.
It's
you know
all
what I
for the
mean?
kids.
Absolutely. And the event is free, and there'll be free ice cream for children. Not for you fucking adults. No.
I'm a kid.
For the kid. Fuck you. You don't get none.
Oh.
Okay? No.
But I'm a kid.
I'll buy you a goddamn ice cream.
Okay.
No, the free ice cream's for the kids, all seriousness. Again, we try and do the little things that we can do. A local ice cream group, Mr. Stofty in Monmouth and Ocean County, will be, again, there providing ice cream for the kids. So listen, you could literally
from the sales to the
anything, yeah, that's the other side of it. But again, more specifically, Tony, myself, Ryan, other board members, and I'm not a board member, by the way. I just happen to know the board members.
Yeah, because
But-
you don't want to be.
Listen, I thought it was a good idea, and I put it out there that, again, that we could give a little bit in conjunction with some of the, the groups of vendors that we work with. So the event is free. You can show up, you can watch the wrestling, you can listen to the music, you can browse everything, get an ice cream, and call it a day.
Hey,
Don't get me wrong, there'll be vendors, there'll be things. If you want to support, if you can help out, great. Buy a hot dog, you know what I mean? Buy a t-shirt. Hey, every little bit helps and goes back to
I got
cause.
to give a little shout out to my friend Jennifer here. She is going back to work tomorrow, and she is all excited. She got so excited that she had to call and double check to see what time she's supposed to be there. So, hey, good vibes to you. For your
Nice.
return
Very,
tomorrow,
very cool.
Jen. Congratulations, girl.
And again, I'm glad, that it helps in any dynamic. Listen, again, that is part of the real magic that I talk about a lot. This is the defense against the madness, that we can talk, we can support, we can love, we can empathize, we can sympathize, and we can just use the basic tools we have to communicate, to learn more, to understand. If nothing else, sometimes, I hate to put it this way, but those of you who know me know I'm absolutely going to go there. Sometimes you just got to get swifty and just shit on the floor. You just got to. Because if you don't, it's going to go Monty Python and you're going to explode and it's going to be worse.
So, to anybody who knows where getting swifty comes from.
Shiya is offering bonus points tonight. I don't know what they'll actually translate to.
Absolutely.
It might be a free pass to survival in the apocalypse. I'm just saying. People have said that. You never know. Anything's possible.
Apocalypse now.
The horror. Oh. Anywho, again, going back to tonight's theme, the mouth of madness. Now, madness, and again, this is subjective. It is obviously perspective driven. Comes in many different fucking forms. And I talk a lot about historical elements. I believe history is our roadmap to all things because it gives us insight. It gives us the ability to create dynamics within patterns. And patterns, believe it or not, actually mean something.
The hell you say?
I do.
Wow.
But, again, since a lot of this is perspective driven, I'm going to kind of dance my perspective on this. Now, there are a couple different examples, and I wanted to use a couple of specific historical references to kind of start off with creating that spectrum, that there are many different elements of how this is played out. One of the ones I wanted to start with is a historical but also religious figure, okay? And she, for those of you who are not familiar with this particular graphic, would be Joan of Arc. Now, for those of you who don't know, back in the late 1400s, Joan of Arc was a French woman, young French woman, who fought during the 100-Year Wars with England.
And when we're talking young, we're talking teen queen.
Yes. Well, she was murdered. She was burnt at the stake when she was just 19, according to the historical records. So you could maybe, give or take a year. But yeah, she was young. She was very young. But the story behind her really represents, I think, the greatest example, okay, of what is now today really kind of looked at as madness. AKA, God told her, the voices in her head told her to fight and to stand, to do the things that she did for France in the name of, their interpretation of the church. Okay? And she was very successful. Brother Mark, great to see you.
Hey, Mark.
So, during these years that she was involved, she had many successes and definitely pissed off not only the English aristocrats, but the generalized religious politics of the time period. During this time period, you had actively the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition, none other.
Expects the Spanish Inquisition
was in full fucking play. And we know historically, because it's pretty much still in play today, but though much worse, was incredibly male dominated. Okay? Men set the tempo. The bishops and the cardinals and everything else that went along with it was, for all intents and purposes, exclusively by men. And then little Joan shows up. How the voices are telling her this, that, and the other thing in the name of God. And then she goes out there and starts winning fucking battles. This did not look good for anybody but the French.
It challenged their masculine superiority.
It created a tectonic shift in the dynamics. Unfortunately, she did lose a battle. She was captured, and she was sold, basically, to the English. And the English, through the guise of the Church and the Inquisition, basically staged a bullshit dance because she was a woman and she did things like wore men's clothes, and that was one of their key elements. Now, again, you got to remember this was a woman who was fighting battles, was actually in combat. Okay. Now, again, just from a guy's dynamic, and I hate to say this, men are conditioned. There's nothing worse than getting your ass kicked by a woman. Okay. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this is now again a woman sent by God. You know what I mean? So it creates all kinds of fucked up dynamics of madness across the spectrum. But basically, again, because she wore men's clothing and the dynamics of the voices in her head, she basically got dumped for heresy, and they basically railroaded her, took her out, and fucking burnt her at the stake. Now, the underlying dynamic was that the English used this, took advantage that she finally made a mistake, they got her, and they used it to really chip away at Charles's claim to the throne, aka it kind of shifted his quote-unquote, relationship with God, because, obviously the ruling dynamics were all God-given. You know what I mean? This is what that time period was about. The religion and the structure went hand in hand. So by kind of fucking with that, you know what I mean? You had the heretic, chick leading your cause, that you obviously are not the right Catholic for the job. And again, it didn't really work. France went on and still, became their country. England became what they did. But the framework and the reason I use Joan of Arc, and again, it's a bit of a stretch, she inspired, okay, make no mistake, within the French and the French, regulars, the soldiers, the people that actually went out there and fucking died, she was loved. She was the representation of their destiny, their right. God, Christ was on their side. And you can see in this historical picture, she literally is framed within, the light of the heavens. You know what I mean? There are no coincidences how imagery represents those dynamics. But on the other side of the coin, you know what I mean? Again, the truth of the matter is, they burnt her alive. You know what I mean? While, the religious, folk basically cheered it as this is God's justice for, taking his name in vain, basically, that she was mad, this wasn't God talking to her, this was demons, this was madness, and therefore she had to die for it. Now, you flip that dynamic now into the here and now, and I think most people will agree that within a clinical, psychological type of framework, that somebody who comes out and says, yeah, see, I've been having these voices in my head, and it's God, and basically God is telling me I got to organize the French, and I got to go out and I got to kill the fucking English. they're going to react madness. They're going to look at that. That is the conditioning. That is the framework. So if you hear voices in your head, by default, the suggestion is you are now in the mouth of madness.
I hear voices.
Exactly. It is a conditioning element, and I talk about conditioning a lot, but it is an aspect that has now become cancerous, I believe, within the framework of modern psychology, within our cultural and societal systems, that we're still using frameworks and dynamics from the fucking Spanish Inquisition. You know what I mean? And that, to me, is fucking madness. The dynamics of how the human brain works and how that aspect of communication, internal dialogue, if you will, is nothing more than an internal aspect. How it's translated, and that isn't to say that there aren't fucking people out there that are legitimately having auditory hallucinations and, real or not, believe that they're hearing voices. So that isn't to dismiss it, but to use it again as one of those rubber stamp, if you hear shit in your head, somehow that's madness, is completely off the fucking mark. Again, like everything, it's context. And I'm going to give you some examples, because that's what I do.
I talk to my guys all the fucking time.
Monty Python, indeed.
Python.
Now, this guy, and for those of you who don't know the historical reference, we're talking about Caligula.
Oh.
Caligula is definitely one of your historical, we'll say, bell curves on fucking madness.
Right.
That he just, again, because of his nature, the time period, probably syphilis and alcoholism, just descended into the deepest depths that really can be almost imagined. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time about the type of shit that Caligula did. Let's just say it's off the fucking wall. It's deep. It's a lot of really dark.
He would make porn
debauchery. Yeah, yeah. Well, listen. He is the father of the modern day Pornhub, for all intents and purposes. He took sexual deviancy to a whole new fucking spectrum. I mean, a whole new fucking spectrum. But there, again, is what most, I think, could agree is a fair definition of madness. Now, was he always that way? No. Historically, we know that as a younger man, his descent in many ways was probably unavoidable due to not only his family, but because of the time period and the political spectrum of that time. So, a lot of it for him, just like us, was conditioning. Now, does that justify it? Does that, okay, we're going to give Caligula a pass? No. We're all responsible for our actions and how far down the rabbit hole we go. But again, for the sake of this discussion, here is an example, historically, of madness.
Now, how did they deal with him?
They killed him. Now, madness is depicted, again, within very dark shade. I have found, again, I see this as part of the conditioning and just how certain words have become kind of attached, stuck, if you will. So we see madness, you see Vincent Price skulking down hallways, pulling his hair out. You know what I mean? You get these different visuals.
Images in the
yes. The great, the Lovecraftian, Cthulhian, madness. You know what I mean? And, you know, you see it pop up in many different elements, not only within literature, but within religion and obviously within philosophy and science, because there are elements, scientific elements, to certain degrees of this. Obviously, the mind is complex. And each of us being unique means that there's literally an infinite amount of unique dynamics from person to person to person. Now, there are certain common dynamics. You know, we all, as a species, function within certain baselines. So you can create templates, you can create aspects that you can connect the dots to certain degrees.
You know, in certain societies, in different cultures, specifically in the Asian culture and in the Native American culture, both have it to where those who had that touch of madness were seen as blessed by the gods or touched by the gods, and were actually revered.
There are dynamics also too, and I mentioned the religious aspect, but you know, madness and certain types of madness. I mentioned the Lovecraft dynamic, but also within religious dogma, the whole satanic evil pop. You know what I mean? It's, again, stereotyping. It is convenient. It's flashy. Ooh, isn't that scary? You know what I mean? And to some degrees, yeah, you could make a case that Aleister Crowley was fucking mad with some of the dynamics of what he did, but not everything. And that's where it gets, you know, again, a little bit more complex. Well, you brought up the great point. Many times, madness is translated differently. It is interpreted differently. As with my boy, Van Gogh. For all intents and purposes, history suggests that he's fucking nuts. That he was mad. But was he really mad? I mean, he cut off his own ear. But there's a case.
Driven to that.
But listen, there's a case to be suggested that he was a victim of certain degrees of trauma. And you look at something like Starry Night and the incredible beauty and depth. Right, he had schizo. You know, again, there are many different variations on the theme, words, definition, you know, bipolar, ADHD. You know, again, I could spend weeks dancing all around the filler element. But the core aspect is how we first obviously defined and translated, but also more importantly, how the people around us interpret that. I look at this, I don't see madness. I see beauty. I see love. Now, granted, it's not the full story. It's a snapshot. It's a moment. But that is where, again, the paradox really begins to open up, because we really don't understand it to the degrees that I think. You know what I mean? And it is representative. Do we run from it? Do we hunt it down like Frankenstein? Or do we explore it? Try to understand it. Look at it. Because I believe, and I know, and I'll just speak for myself, that madness, I think, is one of those unspoken dynamics within the emotional framework, within anger.
That guy we watched a movie about that drew cats, like cute cats, and make cats.
Oh, I forget. It was a historical guy. He was an artist, but he was considered mad.
John Nash from A Beautiful Mind.
Yes.
That I thought was a well done, beautifully done movie that really showed the genius, but the madness as well.
But the madness is, again, a perspective-driven thing. Is it really madness because the people around the person don't understand it? It threatens them, makes them uncomfortable, versus what? And that's, again, where I believe that a lot of this starts to fall apart, because I believe it's a dynamic that we all carry.
I agree.
That we all, right, Van Gogh committed suicide. You know what I mean? The emotional framework for him became too much. And I think that that more is, again, representative of him probably being a high-functioning empath.
Yeah.
And you couple that with, you know, his life and the traumas and
So
many different elements. Because, again, just because a person kills themselves, I don't think makes them mad.
Robin
You know what I mean? Right. I think
Some people
despair,
might
you know what I mean, loneliness, fear, anger, these are all variations on the theme, but madness, you know what I mean? Context, you know what I mean? And I've spoken to vets who come back from active combat situations who talk about this, that there's a whole nother framework dynamic when you're in live fire combat, a madness, if you will, that you almost have to embrace to survive, to be able to perform the duties and actions needed in that kind of situation. And then they have to literally push that dynamic to the side to now come back into the non-combat,
and some people have a
civilian.
Lot of difficulty. They used to call that shell shock.
Right, and there are there's PTSD, you know, many different variations. But it is a framework, again, and I only say this not from personal experiences because I was not, you know, an active combat person or anything like that. But I know enough people and I've spoken to enough of them, and the common variable that every one of them has vocalized, and vocalized it definitively, not just casually, but I mean fucking definitively. It is a form of madness that you have to embrace. Okay? It is not a normal context, but it's a necessary one. So, again, using that example, that analogy, madness is a tool. It's a tool that can be used in a specific situation. Is it pretty? Obviously not. Is it something that should be allowed to run rampant? Fuck no.
I think it's very misunderstood, though.
But it is misunderstood, and it is a dynamic that has many different shades, many different elements, layers, not unlike the ogre. Now, this is one that I just threw in here because I just thought, you know what I mean? And it goes to that perspective. For those of you that are just listening and not able to watch, it's basically a clip from Fantasia, and the caption is, you ever notice Chernabog from Fantasia is considered a villain when all he does is wake up all the ghosties and ghoulies, throw a dance party, and then go back to bed? He's not a villain. He's a DJ.
Villains are DJs.
Listen, I thought it was a great context because it challenges the way we are conditioned to look at things, especially some of the darker things. You know what I mean? Just because an element appears to us as a particular way, is it truly representative? I mean, again, if you're going to use Christian mythology, lore, Lucifer, okay, was the most beautiful, was the first, the chosen of God.
The light bringer.
The light bringer.
Yes.
You know, these conceptual dynamics of demons and devils were all driven much later within the church to create a dynamic to compare against. So, AKA, I want you to come join my team, and this fucking evil-looking, fucked-up boogeyman is what is waiting for you if you don't. It was advertising.
Fear tactics.
Right. It's just like, this is, you know, and again, there is no framework. There's no actual context within any of the religious scriptures and stuff that makes a case for this. This all came out of later variations within Dante's Inferno and many of the dynamics that changed as the Catholic Church expanded its reach, its influence over politics.
Many of the things
and
about Satan,
Europe in general. You look at the Crusades and the expansion into Northern Africa, into the Holy Land, was a good part of that dynamic. You had to have the bad guy. You had to have, the evil. Christ has sent us to cleanse the way.
Well, many of the things with Satan and the whole Lucifer, fallen angel kind of thing, they used to show how people believed in the old gods were good, but no, they were really masquerading as something bad. So they used that storyline to demonize the old gods.
Well, and to some degrees, every culture has those darker elements to represent things like death, fear, war, anger, rage, there are many, many different examples that, dance to and fro. But perspective being what it is. And I'm actually I'm gonna do a full-blown podcast on this because Shiya and I just finished watching the new Netflix Sandman.
Phenomenal. Highly recommended.
And it really is an honest adaptation of Neil Gaiman's graphic novels.
And for those of us who haven't seen or read the graphic novels, I will tell you the story is excellent, even if you never have touched those novels.
It's a great interpretation, a great exploration of the dynamics. And for me, it speaks because I was a fan of this way before when it first came out. It represents dynamics of dreams or nightmares. It gives, within a fanciful type of degree, but within some aspects that Neil took from historical, cultural elements and his own perspective about how dreams actually work, nightmares, how they correlate between the waking world and everything else, and how many of the dynamics of the characters, quote unquote, that we have within our lores and our religious dogmas and stuff are completely misunderstood.
Yep.
Completely. But that is the nature, again, we'll just call it a universal game of, phone tag. You know what I mean? Where the story just keeps
hey, Courtney.
shifting as it goes down, from person to person. But even within darkness, there's beauty, there's love, there's hope. And within many aspects that masquerade as beauty, love, some of the darkest shit you can fucking imagine. There, again, really gets to the deeper paradox of that madness. You know what I mean? And I joke about it, but we all dance in the mouth of madness to some degree or another. At some point. Not every minute of every day. But,
the case could be made for 2020 that we were all dancing in the mouth of madness every minute of every day.
Well, again, it goes back to perspective. Now we're going to take a break, and I'm going to share one of those perspectives. I had the honor of working on a video for my brother Tony and the guys in Broken Past for one of the new tracks that they have coming out, getting finalized, mastered. So this is not going to be anything that's going to be quite released yet, but I'm going to share it tonight. It is my interpretation visually of the dynamic of the song that Tony and Broken Past wrote within their music to kind of frame not only the perspective, as Courtney says, yes, perspective is key, but how that translates and how it actually plays out in the now. Okay. And that's where I think, and where we'll continue afterwards, is where it's most important to look. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and enjoy 420. No hidden context there. So yeah, that was my buddy Tony Rodriguez's band, Broken Past. That's Tony Rodriguez on bass, Wayne White on guitar, Brian Stagger on drums, and Frank Acey on vocals. Broken Past was originally started, Tony, myself, my son, buddy of ours we called Bagger, and a buddy of ours, Joe Catano, who since again started in Tony's garage, and we had a lot of fun, and it was great, and we've all, remained friends to different degrees and in different ways, but things evolve and things change. Yes, it is a great song. I think it's one of their best songs. And knowing Tony for, as long as I have, when I started working and creating this video, I really wanted to understand the dynamic, and a lot of this was influenced by not only COVID and the pandemic, but a lot of the madness that was going on around us. You had protests going on, a lot of the dynamics within aspects of racism in our country, within sexual ideology, politics, obviously. So there's been a lot of chaos, a lot of madness, and it has, in many ways, turned brother against brother. So this was their way of kind of expressing their frustration, their perspective on the madness that was going on all around us, and is still going on to many degrees. I don't think many people can argue, that anybody that, gets on top of a building or walks into a supermarket with a fucking automatic weapon and just starts shooting people, or walking into a school and gunning down children is anything but fucking madness. I don't know what else you call it. Granted, sure, they all have stories. I'm sure they have reasons. But if we're going to set a standard, if we're going to set a baseline, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that definitely qualifies as fucking madness. Now, Broken Paths, again, will be one of the bands that will be performing, again, September 17, 2022. Myself and some friends will be performing under the Pocket Full of Wolves, Spawn Ranch Legion, a bunch of others, as mentioned before. Definitely, if you can get to the Jersey Shore September 17th, come out. I mean, I can't say it enough. Granted, I'm emotionally compromised because I'm fucking performing. My kid's performing. My friends are performing. I
love watching you perform,
but, again, there's nothing quite like the dynamics of a live show to experience the energy, the magic, the power that comes with music and within groups of people, especially within this event. It's a blast, really. Again, I can't say it enough. It is the very definition of magic when you can get people together under a common dynamic, a positive dynamic, to help others, to embrace love and, all these beautiful things, you know what I mean? It's great, you know what I mean? I wish I could do it more. But yeah, that was Broken Past, 20 Vision. The 420 was, my little kind of quippy, jokey, kind of hippie weed thing, you know what I mean? And I have that luxury because where I live, here in New York, it's fucking legal. Finally. Which again, I'm not saying, hey, everybody go out there and, smoke weed. But if you're going to ask me my opinion, I think it's fucking madness that we embrace alcohol, which we know scientifically is a poison. Granted, anything you smoke is a carcinogen, so you can make a case, yeah, it's not the most healthiest thing for you, but there are many different ways that you can enjoy that without actually smoking it and inhaling it.
Some of us sip
but,
it.
Again,
I love my liquid.
Fucking alcohol, I mean, again, ask any alcoholic flipper how they feel about it. You know what I mean? Scientifically, we know, statistically, we know alcohol is absolutely devastating, millions of times more destructive. And not just scratching the surface, of the madness. Because once you start getting into fucking opiates and pharmaceuticals, it's an absolute fucking shit show. But again, another story for another day. September 17, 2022, Port Monmouth, New Jersey, Arts for Autism. I hope everybody can come out, seriously. And some of you are coming out that we will be getting together with. So I am really looking forward
I am too.
To
it's
that.
An exciting time.
Now, there are a bunch of other things, obviously, within the dynamics of madness, okay, that you can make a case for. And obviously, much of this is going to vary depending upon situation, context, redundantly back and forth. But there are deeper underlying dynamics that I think qualify just as well, if not better. And I just throw these out as questions. Is it not madness that with all the technology and the resources that we have, that anybody, child or otherwise, should go hungry? Is it not madness that the very things that keep us alive, we, the collective we, not you per se, but we, destroy? That, to me, I think, is really more important than a lot of these other variations, because there are things going on around us that, again, maybe we don't all see and hear. They fall through the cracks. Maybe it just doesn't resonate in a particular way in the moment, whatever. But these dynamics of things, this madness, is having a collective effect, aka, even though you may not have a hand per se in the dynamic itself, the collateral carryover is still going to come on you. And, you know, anybody that was in Britain recently during that insane heat wave, or in Kentucky through these floods, there are dynamics within our environment that are completely out of whack, and they are getting worse. Now, again, I'm not jumping on the fucking tree-hugging bandwagon and say, hey, everybody go out and buy an electric car, and da-da-da. I get it. It's not going to work that way. But there is no reason, and I think it's madness, that we are not at least collectively saying, hey, we got to try and do something, okay? Something is better than nothing. And whereas we can't change many of the condition dynamics, we really need to start working to move away from them before, and again, this is the irony, the folly of man, is that we do not learn from our history. We do not appreciate the dynamics, that the damage that we do has a price, you know. And I think that that is the greatest madness. It is to try and pretend that it isn't the case, okay? You don't have to agree with the reasons why, per se. You don't even have to agree with even half of it. But some of it is blatant. It's obvious. We have species that are dying off at incredible rates. We are seeing complete shifts within the dynamic of our ecosystems. And, you know, just two basic examples. The air we breathe and the water we drink, we're running out of water, okay? This is not going to be something that's just going to be, you know, a North Africa thing or an India thing. This is going global, okay? There's limited amounts of fresh water versus an ever-growing population. The air aspect is the same thing, because it isn't just about pollution. It's about the dynamics of different elements that are natural. Methane, as an example. There is so much methane trapped in permafrost. To give folks a little bit of a scientific analogy, there's so much stored carbon and methane in the permafrost throughout Antarctica and Greenland and other deeper frozen places, for lack of a better way to put it, that, you know, you would make every car, every factory, like a drop in the bucket, okay? So, yeah, the dynamic isn't just about, the cars. No, it isn't just the cars. It's not just the cows. It's not just the factories. It's the combination. It is an effect-based process. One thing affects another, not only like dominoes. One falls over, hits the next one falls over, hits the next one, and so forth down the chain. And Marquis at Lake Mead is getting very low. Out there in the Midwest there, in the Nevada basins and stuff like that, it's getting critical.
Butterfly flaps its wings in China. And there's a...
And then all of a sudden everybody here has COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying, people have said that.
Yeah,
we don't know if it's true. But listen, that is the nature of the dynamics. Guess what? In the reality, the madness, it doesn't matter where it fucking came from, because guess what? It's out there. And now it's running around all over the place. So, you could say, well, it's just like that. People are dying, okay? One is too many. Ask anybody who's lost a loved one through this process, okay? Death is still fucking death, okay? And it's madness to dance around it, to pretend like, oh, you know what I mean? It's the flu. Well, maybe we need to address these fucking things. Maybe we need to figure out better ways. I say this all the time, and granted, it's a bit of a crude analogy, but we have the resources and the technology to broadcast Paris Hilton's pussy across the globe in high definition, but we can't figure out how to stop microbiotic organisms from killing us. Madness. I don't believe it for a second. We all know it's fucking bullshit. Okay? When we become involved and we actually get our heads out of our asses, we've been able to accomplish pretty much anything and everything that we put our minds to. Okay? Back in the early 1900s, when polio was fucking devastating stuff, guess what? We figured it out. Okay? It is the same analogy, unfortunately, with many dynamics within our cultures and our societies that we just take it for granted. It's the status quo. Well, this is the way it is. Again, having been involved for many years within charity work and something, looking at the amount of food that Western society throws out on a regular basis every day in every city across this fucking country, it's madness when you see people 50 feet away starving in a fucking alley, but these places can't give it away because we have these rules in place about food safety, and we don't want to be responsible if these homeless people who are dying in the street maybe get a bad sandwich. You know what? Madness, man. Bullshit.
I'd rather have a bad sandwich than
it's fucking apathy. It's a fucking excuse.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We could very simply say, hey, every night at all of these places where all that food's going in a goddamn dumpster for raccoons and shit, anybody who's hungry, anybody that needs or wants food could come out there. Here you go. Here's this. Here you go. Is that? Yeah, you know what? Maybe the sandwich is a day old, you know what I mean? If you're lactose intolerant, throw the cheese out. It is a lesser evil versus people starving, okay? There are things that we can just simply do by just changing our perspective, changing the way that we look at certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Another great analogy, and, again, it correlates back to the whole weed thing, but hemp used to be the go-to resource in so many things, in making clothing, and making paper, and making all these other dynamics.
But hemp is evil.
Guess what? We cannot afford to cut down any more trees, okay? Say whatever you want with trees. I'm sorry you got to clean up the leaves. I'm sorry if the fucking squirrels jump to your roof from it. But here's the simple truth. Trees are our environmental system. They make the majority of the oxygen that we breathe, and they scrub, aka clean, the dynamics of the air around us, of the shit that kills us and makes us sick. We need trees. Trees are what allow us to actually breathe the fucking air. Okay?
No, thank you.
We can no longer use trees to make paper. I'm sorry. We can no longer use trees to make fancy furniture.
And hemp is
Hey, listen,
so
I'm a
fast
guitar
and
player.
easy to grow.
I love a wooden guitar, but even in that dynamic, we have to stop.
Yeah.
We have to stop killing fucking trees. Because guess what? There is a scientific balance, okay? And it is literally the dynamic of the number of people breathing versus the number of trees that we have making air. Okay? This is not rocket science. Eventually, when it comes out of balance, guess what? Nobody's going to have any fucking air to breathe, and there's going to be no more argument. You know what I mean? There's going to be no more debate because there will be no fucking air to breathe. And that means pretty much for us, goodbye. We can control this. Now, again, what better definition of madness? Knowing what's staring at us over the fucking horizon and not being able to just simply get on the same page and say, you know what? We have to at least try and do something. Okay? We have to. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying give up your guns. I'm not saying give up your God. I'm just saying, hey, little things. Let's stop throwing out food and let's stop killing trees. These are two easy things to do. We don't need trees to make paper anymore. We can use hemp just like we did 200, 400, 1,000 years ago. It's actually better, cheaper, easier, more efficient, plus all the other dynamics of what we can make with it. Okay? Simple analogy. And fucking stop throwing food away. Figure out a better way. You know what? I'm sorry, but if you're a supermarket and you know that you throw that much food out every day of prepared foods, stop making fucking prepared foods. Make it to order.
Right.
Stop being fucking lazy. Okay? I don't give a shit if you're a fucking Walgreens or a Walmart or a Stop and Shop, and I'll fucking Wawa. I'm gonna call.
France did this. France actually did that.
It's fucking bullshit. I'm gonna call every one of you corporate assholes out. Yep. Stop throwing out food, man.
It's practical. France had set that up with all the grocery stores so that they could do that, and all of their extra produce, that was going to get thrown out, prepared foods and stuff like that. Now go to the homeless. They've shown that there's a practical way to make this.
And listen, and it doesn't even have to just go to the homeless. I'm sure a lot of people out there that work hard for a living would like to be able to save a couple of dollars.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I have been actively involved and one of the board members within the Under My Skin for Life Foundation for many years, a guy by the name of Frank Tonra, he's known as the Minister of Metal, has been doing fundraisers for years for the local food banks. And let me tell you in no uncertain terms, the majority of people using the food banks are not homeless people. They're everyday people with jobs and families that the cost of living is just so absolutely fucking ridiculous that to be able to save even 30 or 40 bucks a week is the gas that they put in the car to get back and forth to work, if they can even afford that. You see where I'm going? These things, they connect. It is the dominoes, the reverse of thing. We repair certain links in the chain. It makes the chain stronger. But again, these are everyday people that we see on the streets, we go to church with, or whatever it is that you do, the local park, the local pub, the ball games, the monster truck shows, the rock shows, the autism events. These are our brothers and sisters around us. Okay? So it isn't just about homeless people. It's a simple dynamic of wasting precious, and I say that again, precious resources,
Yeah.
we have to stop doing it. So, those are just, again, two dynamics that resonate very strongly for me, but I believe, again, are easy enough to do. I'm sorry if you're a custom furniture company. I'm sorry. Okay? I feel bad for you, but it's no different than the companies that made 8-track players. Guess what? They're no longer around. They had to adapt because nobody uses fucking 8-tracks anymore.
Yeah.
Or the same analogy for the guys that made, hydrogen sulfide or, any other toxic chemicals, that, sorry, they just don't fucking, or, any number of examples where we've had to shift the dynamic for the greater good. So, you know what? Again, we have to change. We have to change. If we don't, again, and this is just the shitty reality, when the day comes, it will be too late. There'll be no way to dance back from this. We have to, okay? And I can't emphasize this enough. We have to do it now, okay? We're not going to change everything. We're not going to get rid of all the cars. We're not going to get rid of all the cows. We're not going to be able to do any of that shit. But we have to start doing the things we can, and we can stop killing trees. We can start planting more trees. Now, obviously, other places in the world, they're going to do what they're going to do. It's unfortunate. It would be really nice if we could find a global context on this, but history has proven that until the locusts and, the plagues really start running rampant, and no coincidence, this last plague obviously wasn't enough. It got people in their houses for a little while, and people, and then, after, 6 months, a year of not being able to do all the things they want to do, it's like the masks are gone. Everybody's like, fuck it. We want to live. Well, that's fine. That's cool. I get it. I understand it. But if this proved anything during that period of time, that if you just scale back our impact, nature will fix herself.
I mean, she already did start fixing herself there in 2020 when people stopped.
Right. There was less pollution elements. A lot of it started to shift back. And Jen, I get it. Sometimes, you hate having to cut a large red oak tree down. I get it. Sometimes there's nothing we can do. I'm really talking about this more on the larger scale dynamic, you know what I mean, of just ganking forests for, plywood to build more overpriced homes. I'm sorry. That shit has to stop.
IKEA needs more passport.
It has to stop. Okay? We don't have enough of these resources to play this way. It is folly. It is madness. Madness. So, we're going to take a break real quick. I'm going to share another one of my madness tracks. One of mine. I call it Demons.
I love that one.
But we're going to take a break real quick, and then we'll come out and finish things up, have a little bit more stuff. But Demons was, again, one of my translations of this theme of the madness and the traumas and the aspects that are kind of passed down between us. So enjoy, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So yeah, that was one of my interpretations on madness, and it was my personal reflection of those dynamics, the madness of religious dogma, the madness of how we pass certain things down to our children, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, sometimes knowingly. But nonetheless, it is still real. It's there.
I have a context of something I think is madness. That
Please share.
Really invaded our lives in the past, I would say about 6 years more specifically. It's always been there to a point, at least for the last 250 years of our country. But this huge divide of polarity between people's opinions versus science versus reality versus conspiracy theories versus political parties, to such an extent that families are breaking up, that people can't even have the honest conversation anymore, to agree to disagree.
America!
To find that middle. I find that madness. That to me is a modern day madness. That is something that we can
love her or leave her. Love her or leave her.
Yeah. I mean, we can actually step up and say, you know what, I'm not going to participate in this level of madness anymore. And learn to have that honest conversation. I feel like that's
I agree.
Madness that is just,
some of that is by design. The powers that be need that dynamic to maintain control. If we're going to be honest, and we're going to have an honest conversation about it, it is not limited to one particular party. A friend of mine actually made a post today, and he made a good case for it, that the path forward for us really should be not a system of parties, but really a true representation of the dynamics of the will of the people. If we're truly going to be a democracy, it cannot be this half-assed, facade of, well, you get to choose between, a fucking clown and a scumbag.
Tweedledummer.
You know what I mean? And that isn't really a viable system.
No.
It's not working. And again, it requires, that honest, direct communication to embrace not only the madness, but to respect it for what it is. That it is a power play. It is the dynamic of one side forcing its will while the other side's trying to force its will. But science has proven that matter and antimatter are not a good combination and tend to annihilate everything around it. And I think that that's a viable, you know, explanation, call it whatever you want. You know, I like doing the visual correlations, but it really has become to the degree that we can't find any common ground. You know what I mean? That we can't even agree on basic things. That's really in everybody's best interest. There shouldn't be politics involved in certain dynamics.
Human rights.
I understand to certain degrees within the human rights element because, let's be honest, a lot of people aren't fucking human.
Yeah.
So, you know,
where's Diana when you need her?
You kind of have to, you know, establish a baseline of what really qualifies. And I know that sounds horrible, but that is truly what is really reflective in a lot of this, especially when you look at it through the lens of, say, religious dogma. My God is better than yours. You're a heretic. Obviously, you're a piece of shit. And therefore, you're less than and expendable. If anything, my God says that to prove my worth and my fealty, that I have to cut your heart out and put your head on a fucking spike. Wasn't that long ago when that was actually a thing,
yeah.
A real thing.
Oh, so human sacrifice.
You know, the Crusades weren't a barbecue. It wasn't a rave. It was a full-on fucking holy war of epic proportions, even by today's standards.
But I mean, even the old pagan past, The Wicker Man was more than just a horror movie, folks. But I don't know if anybody's ever seen that anymore because it's so old. But you know, the year king and his sacrifice at the end of the season.
We must pave the way with blood.
Blood's a powerful,
you know, again,
it's a powerful magic.
You see it pop up again, you know, through not only, you know, aspects within, you know, pagan dynamics, but obviously within Catholicism. Christianity, you know, is heavy on, you know, the blood of Christ.
Yes.
That's their framework, their take on it.
But the mouth of madness is to sit there and say that any one person, any one group, any one thing has the end all and be all, know all of everything on the absolute most only correct spiritual path to a forever eternity because whatever reason.
Again, I hate to say it, but you're right. You know, it is madness. There is no difference in my mind. You know, if you decide, you know, Christmas Day to, you know, sit by your fireplace with your tree and hope that Santa Claus actually fucking shows up.
Santa.
Okay, and I'm not talking mom and dad Santa. I'm talking the fat man in the suit with the flying reindeer and the fucking elves.
Ah, you mean
Santa.
Odin?
Oh, well.
That's where Santa Claus comes from, is Odin.
But see, there you go. There lies the correlation. Mm-hmm. Historically, how
and then Saint Nicholas.
The faces will change, but the characters are basically still the same. They're just, you know, being used differently.
Yeah, originally, it was the All-Father, Odin. You know, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake, or he's going to send Thor and Loki on your ass.
Krampus.
Yeah, Krampus.
Yes. So, yeah, history is chock-full. And, you know, again, it's not just a religious context. A lot of it has been, you know, obviously framed within the dynamics of our literature, the stories, you know, the shadows in the night, the boogeyman, the Candyman, you know,
Bloody Mary.
Yeah, there are so many variations on the theme, but again, they all have roots that correlate, that you can trace back very easily. Very easily. It's just, you know, you got to just do a little bit of the research. Granted, it isn't talked about a lot because it's not, no pun intended, it's not a convenient truth. When you pull the curtains back, using the Wizard of Oz analogy, it all falls apart. And that's not good for business for the Vatican. That's not good for business for Scientology. That's not good for business for any of them. Because if we don't just drink the fucking Kool-Aid, they're not making money. And that, you know, again, human variable.
Unfortunately
greed,
true.
the unyielding pursuit of power and fame and money and pussy and dick and whatever else, happens to be on your particular list. And again, it's not to point the finger, at Jennifer Scott Green.
Oh, it's all her fault. I blame her.
But listen, we all have a part to play. And I think we all know that to different degrees. Now, granted, you do what you can. You know what I mean? And it isn't a perfect system. It'll never be perfect. That is part of the beauty, in my humble opinion. But it is also part of the madness. When you look at it, you step out, as they say, and you just kind of look over the edge into the abyss. It's fucking... It's crazy. It is the mouth of madness.
The problem is, when you look into the abyss...
Well, sometimes the abyss looks back, right?
Exactly.
But that is also reflective of what we carry inside of ourselves. Part of this within context. You can take any number of things and apply it in multiple ways, each having a sliver of truth or a variation on the dynamic, but still completely different ends of the fucking spectrum.
Yeah.
That's not what I heard, Jen. Define what's good. I mean, how good have you really been?
We still blame you. Doesn't matter if you've been good. That's my madness.
Yeah, no, listen. We joke and we play.
Jennifer is now the succubus. Yes, that's it.
Wow, you got 3 Jennifers. Not 1, not 2, but 3 Jennifers. When
Yeah.
she leads in like that, and you just... So Jen is now what?
She's the succubus queen.
She's the queen of the succubi?
Yeah, she's the succubus
queen of the
Yeah.
Wow, so I'm not sure if you want to wear that particular cape, but that's between you and the witch here. I don't get in between matters between wishes. You know what I'm saying?
That she will never tell, she says.
Well, see, you don't need to say anything because you're dealing with a bunch of high-functioning empaths and psychics and stuff, so, yeah, we can read that shit all over you.
Yeah,
wow.
Like earlier today, you're like, oh, I'm not going to
That's a hell of a story I'm reading there, Jen.
Yeah.
It's got many pages.
Oh, she's got her book.
The illustrations are pretty fucking wild too. I got to tell you, Jen. I wasn't expecting this. I'm just flipping through her life right now, just like, wow. I wouldn't have expected that.
Well, there you go.
But this is what happens.
New every day.
Sometimes you look into Jen and Jen looks back.
What do you expect from a gal whose dog is named Tornado and lives up to its name? Truly.
Is there a correlation? Madness. It's everywhere.
I gotta pick on you, my friend. You know I love
But listen, if there's a final, point to be made,
the rest of this story.
Not all of this is bad per se.
No.
It's okay to be a little crazy. Again, crazy is, purely perspective. People think I'm crazy because, I'm in my 50s now and I still have long hair. And I still wear cut-off t-shirts. I have shirts that are fucking 20, 30 fucking years old that I still fucking wear. That's what I like.
They're literally shredded.
And I don't care that people think I'm glad. You know what? If you think I'm crazy, I'm doing something right. That actually inspires me and encourages me. It gives me more incentive to be mad.
Hey, it's what works for you.
Now, granted, I'm not going to go full-on madness of King George, but
that could be entertaining.
It could be in the right situation.
On the ashes of the world,
In the right situation with the right people. But again,
madness.
And I always come back to perspective. Perspective is the key dynamic. It is the primary tool in all of this because it allows us to learn, to adapt, to change. Gary, brother, good to see you.
What's your madness today, Gary?
But it really is a dynamic that when you look at it, it has so many real-time applications, real-time consequences in not only our daily lives, obviously, but
Yeah.
what are we setting the stage for within the future? I did my little soapbox thing. It's like, stop fucking killing trees. You don't have to hug them. You don't have to love them. But this is why and how we're able to breathe, guys, okay?
Yeah, I'm scared for the world we're leaving for the grandkids.
This is like opening up the airlock on a fucking space station and just letting the vacuum of space in. Stupid. It's fucking madness, man. We don't need to do it anymore. We're fucking lethargic, apathetic, conditioned, assholes that we, well, I gotta have that old bedroom set or my life just isn't bullshit.
Gary is getting
Talk to the guy around the corner living in a fucking cardboard box. You fucking privileged piece of shit. And I'm sorry, I'm not putting that on anybody. But if the oak bedroom set fits, maybe you have a part to play in this. Now, again, I don't want everybody to, no, some of this is comedic, some of this is sarcasm, some of this is my own angst within. Why doesn't everybody just get it? I feel like I'm the fucking Omega Man running around in this fucking I Am Legend world surrounded by mindless fucking zombies who just don't want to get it. Because that's what I think sometimes. That's what I think is really at the heart of the madness. People don't want, or a lot of people, not everybody, not you guys, not Gary for sure. Okay, Gary. And not Jennifer for sure. Or Mark. Or anybody else that I deem. Some that I have blessed you. You are now good.
Worthy.
But really, what fucking madness.
Common sense.
That you just don't understand the basic dynamics of the world that you live in.
Common sense has lost its commonality.
You know what I mean? You're just so fucking far down the rabbit hole. You got your bag of Cheetos and your fucking Pornhub and
it's hot Cheetos, get it right.
Oh, Jesus. And just again, over what? Really, I would understand, if we were all eating fucking trees and that's all there was to eat, then you can make a case. Well, listen, we got to eat them. I'm sorry, it's us or them. But this is insanity. We don't need to use trees in the same dynamic. We have evolved beyond that. Now, I'm not a fan of plastics or all the shit that goes with it. But man, listen.
All the paper products that are out there can pretty much be made by hemp.
We could at least find a bit of fucking compromise.
Or bamboo. Well, both of which are extremely sustainable and fast growing.
Right. Just make a bit of a shift before we just can't fucking breathe, Because we can deal with the water thing. It's not going to be pretty. But we have the technology to create water, just not on the volume that we really need. So a whole lot of people are going to have to fucking, I'm sorry, but welcome to Carousel.
Yeah.
But we lose the dynamic of our atmosphere and we're all fucked. There's no hiding from that. We don't have the capability to generate breathable air. You know what I mean? You can fit maybe 100 or 200 people, on a space station as it stands right now, but, that's, there's no way around it. You know what I mean? So we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to be able to shift all the dynamics. Most scientists and people within academia have already suggested that we're already past the point within certain aspects of climatology and stuff with the way the ice sheets have just been fucking melting like ice cubes on a hot summer day. No pun intended.
Yay!
Sister! Congratulations.
I told you it was coming. Yay!
So, for those of you who can't see the chat, our dear friend, Jan Ivy, will be leaving for Colorado on Thursday for surgery. congratulations.
I will.
We wish you all the
definitely
best. We will be sending you,
healing and Reiki and
support and love and all that
healing and Reiki
beautiful stuff.
And healing and Reiki. And Thursday night is the full moon. I will do a spell for you.
Cool. You got a witch on. Well, I mean, you got a lot of witches on your side.
Yeah.
So. You hang in there, sister. Really glad to hear that.
Me too. I know that you've been afraid of not being able to get this surgery, so I'm glad.
Gary hit it on. Yeah, that was a nice shot over the left field wall.
Yeah.
And I will quote Gary verbatim. The world today feels like we've slipped into a Stepford Wives type of world. No one wants to think for themselves. Yeah.
You're not
lying. Good percentage, and I would say probably, unfortunately, a majority percentage, and I'm being kind, definitely fit into that category, into this conditioning dynamic. You know what I mean? And it's hilarious because you have people on both sides of the spectrum pointing to the other side. You're a fucking sheep. No, you're a fucking sheep. No, you're all a bunch of fucking sheep. Think for yourselves.
I don't care if your Kool-Aid is red or blue or purple.
I understand that not everything seems to fit completely, but there are some baselines, especially within the dynamics of things like science. And granted, yes, we don't understand everything about science, and yes, science changes, but there's certain base elements of science that are not going to change.
Natural law.
Fire burns.
Yeah. Natural law.
Ice freezes. We need oxygen to breathe. We need water to drink. All the Diet Cokes in the world will not replace water. Okay? And guess what? Your Diet Coke is made with fucking water. So,
but it's
madness.
It's changed to the point to where it will now.
Madness.
It'll kill you.
So, I'm going to close out with this last dynamic that I started the show with.
The wolf pack.
We want your stories. I want your stories. I consider all of you part of the wolf pack already, but Shia made this graphic, so you can be part of the wolf pack without actually doing this, but I really want this. I want your strange and obscure stories and experiences. I want your pain. I want your dreams. I want your nightmares. Send it to us, and we'll talk about it, okay?
On the old.
Just shoot me an email, oldwolf@ladyshia.com.
Yep.
Okay? Put it in your own words. You don't have to actually come out here, but if you want, we'll have you on the podcast. And you can tell your story if you would like to do it that way.
Yeah, we need to do that with Gary after he gets married.
I will extend that dynamic that, if you're comfortable enough, you want to do that, we can get you on here. And we can do the technology thing that you can actually tell the story in all the beauty and the dynamics and the weirdness or whatever the fuck it is. Even if you just want to be able to come on live and be like, fuck, fuckity, fuck, 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 the fuck, fuck. Yeah. See that? I don't know how many fucks that was, but
that's a lot of fuck.
Obviously, I still have more fucks to give. So
hilarious.
That contradicts my earlier social media post last week about not having any more fucks left to give.
I just saw the captions, and the captions were like star, fuck, star. That's hilarious.
So I guess all these, I didn't realize it, all these words get starred?
Star, fuck, star.
Fuck, star. How about vagina? Vagina.
Let's see if
vagina.
Let's see about vagina.
We'll see if vagina actually flags.
Yeah, vagina does it.
Jesus!
And now vagina actually types.
Oh, vagina actually types.
Yes, it's just.
I never knew it. Well,
how about shit? Shit.
Obviously, we're going down Carlin's rabbit hole of words you're not supposed to say, but we say them anyway.
Okay, shit.
Isn't it madness that we're fucking canceling each other? I mean, granted, don't get me wrong.
Can I say tits?
I guess so. Well, you have tits, so you're allowed to say that. I understand if you're coming out there with some hateful, fucked up shit, then yeah, you should be canceled. But words without the context behind them, that's fucking madness. Really.
It types out tits.
Well, of course.
But that was one of the 7 words. What's one of the other 7 words?
Cocksucker.
Cocksucker.
Yes.
Cocksucker. It actually says cocksucker.
So, fuck is not viable, but cocksucker is okay. How about
Yes.
motherfucker is going to be like Mother Star, probably.
We'll see. Hold on.
Unbelievable. This is madness.
No, all of motherfucker is start out.
Okay. So yeah, obviously, even technology is like, these words we have deemed inappropriate for you. Yeah, you're not allowed to think for yourself. We're going to tell you how to think. Now again,
Madness.
all this, yeah, this is my opinion. This is my take. Take what you need, leave the rest behind. Hopefully, you know, again, to get you a little bit outside the madness of your own world and gives you a different perspective. With any luck, it gives you a little bit of hope and a little bit of, you know, maybe there are things we can do. You know, there are, let me rephrase this. History has proven to us that when we find commonality, when we come together, bring our voices and our collective energy and magic together, we can do all kinds of shit. Ask Marie Antoinette how that played out for her. I'll let Shiya channel her one of these nights and stuff like that, see what she has to say. So with that,
Actually sounds scary.
sounds terrifying. So yeah, send us your stories. Send us your experiences. oldwolf@ladyshia.com. So until next time, thank you again for taking the time. Know that you are loved. Love each other. Dance in the mouth of madness as you must, but remember, with a little bit of madness comes a little bit of insight. It's not all what it appears to be. So I'm going to close out tonight with one final track. I always like to, and this is again another one of those perspective-driven tracks. The photography is by my brother Rick Garrity, great guy, and it's a track called "View Below." So until next time, peace out.
As the world pushes towards the edge, there's a tension ever growing in the air. A child drags the blanket through the mud. She hides her eyes from the gleam of the sun, but we say, as below, so above, it shall be. The so-called trickle down the piss of royalty. A world of stone and rock, the pain within our feet. Over the empty seas, to most certainly his grave. In his wallet, a wrinkled photograph of families embraced by decree of the crown, to war for naught but vain. They send the desperate poor to die, but we say, as above, so below, it will be. The tower of reflection Something about homes of glass and throwing stones. Well, the rocks have been just streaming down from the top of the palace walls. Wouldn't it be just a shame if we returned him home?